Okay, I am going to give you a short tutorial on Photopea. I am going to walk you through some of these tools and then also talk a little bit about what you can do with layers in Photopea and Photoshop. So keep in mind this will be very, very similar to what you can do in Photoshop. So you could follow along if you have access to Photoshop right now. And do this tutorial with Photoshop as well. But if you'd like to try out Photopea, just go to your browser and open up the window and go to photopea.com. And remember, if I showed this to you in class, you're going to go to File, New, and you are going to bring up this window that says New Project. And what you're going to be making is a hamburger. And then you're going to change this setting here that says PX, which means pixels. And some of you may have heard this word before. We'll go over that in class. But please change it to IN, which is for inches. And you're going to make it 8 by 10. And then this setting here is going to be DPI. And I will go over that in class, what that means. But you're going to type in 300. And your background can be white. So then you hit create, and there is basically like a piece of paper. And you can see over here in the layers that it says background. And then if you look at the whole thing here, it's describing what it is. It's a background. There's a little lock here that's locked. That just means that this white square here, I can't really move it around. It even says this layer is locked when I go to try to move it. The very top tool in Photoshop and in Photopea is called the Move tool. And that's when you start working with objects on your background. That's what's going to help you move things around, which seems pretty obvious. But that is also going to be kind of your default tool to go back to. So if you start clicking around in all these tools down here and you get a little bit confused or you're not sure why something's not working, go back to your Move tool. It's kind of like your Save tool. So go back to Move and see if you can get things corrected again. So now we have our hamburger background, and we're going to start building a burger, or it can be a veggie burger if you are not a meat eater. And the first tool I'm going to show you, I'm going to skip over the selection tools for now, it's the next 3 tools down. And then I kind of showed you, if I showed this to you in class, the crop tool and the eyedropper tool, which we will get to in a little bit. But for now, I'm going to focus on the Move tool, the paintbrush tool, and we can get into the eraser tool. It's just an eraser. It's pretty straightforward. The paint bucket tool, which is under the gradient tool. We're not really going to go over gradient quite yet, but we'll get into rectangle. And then this is the hand tool, which kind of is like your hand, like if you were going to rotate the page. And then this is a magnifying glass, so that will let you zoom in and out of your page. So if there's something you want to concentrate on, and here's where you can click to zoom out, up here in the corner here. So today I'm going to do Move tool, and then we're going to do paintbrush only, not the other ones under it. We're going to do paint bucket, and then we're going to do the shape tool, which is here. And then the last thing I'm going to show you is, in addition to those tools, I'm going to show you this right here, which is our color picker. I showed you the foreground color picker. So when you click it, it brings up literally a place to pick a color. So you can kind of play with that and pick something that you like. And then the background color, and I can show you how these work together, would be a different color if you want it to be. So this is foreground and background color. You can click this button and switch them if you need to. And then this button is like kind of the default. I think it's a letter D, and it just goes to black and white. And then again, you can switch them. So now we're going to make a hamburger. We're going to start with the paintbrush, so just click on the paintbrush. It defaults to a circle. In Photoshop and in Photopea, there's different shapes of a paintbrush on here, but we are going to just work with the circles today. So if you go up here where I clicked, you can change the size as big as you want it, and it will show you how big your brush is with the mouse cursor. And you can do this tutorial with the trackpad for now if you have a Chromebook. You can make it really big. And then the hardness is actually the edge of the brush. So if I clicked on this, this is going to be a black circle. So I'm at 100% hardness, so it's a very sharp edge. And then if I go back to that again and turn it all the way down just to see the difference, the hardness around the edges is going to be all blurry. So you can kind of see it's feathered or blurry around the edges. So that's the difference. It's the same size brush. It just has a really blurry edge. So you don't see as much color when you click on it. If you ever do something, you make a mistake, you can go to Edit, Undo. But if you go over here in the History palette, you can go back a few steps and go back to your beginning where we started. Okay. So now I'm going to make a hamburger, so I'm going to go to my color picker, and I'm going to pick a bun color because we need the bottom bun. So let's see about that color and hit OK. I'm going to change back to full hardness, so it's a nice sharp edge. And I'm just going to click in the middle, and that, oh wait, I skipped a step. Let me undo. Okay, so what I'm going to do is add a layer first. So if you go over here to your layers palette, if you don't see it, you can go to Window and click Layers, but it does default to having layers open in Photopea. Go to this little page icon. It's like a folded page. You're going to click that. That will make a new layer, and that's just like it sounds. Like the background is a background. It's just like making a layer cake or a burger. That's why we're doing this. But you're going to do your bottom layer first. And you can double click on the layer and rename it. So you can name it whatever you want. This helps when we get more advanced and we're doing like a lot of different layers. So I would highly recommend getting in the habit of renaming your layers to what they have on them. So you're going to go and click here. And then the next step is to start adding your ingredients, if you want to call them that. And you're going to click a layer for each ingredient. So this would be the next layer up. We could put lettuce on this layer. So call it lettuce. And then we'll go back to the paintbrush and we'll make it a little smaller. That's maybe too small. So here, I'm going to keep the hardness up. We're going to pick a lettuce color. Maybe like a light green. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to outline the lettuce first. And then you're going to go over here, and instead of just coloring it in, you're going to go to the gradient tool and click and hold and go to Paint Bucket. And what Paint Bucket does, it just fills in the layer. You just click that and it fills in with green. You can kind of see this like edge around here. It didn't fully fill it in. What you can do is sort of click on it again and it'll fill it in. Again, a lot of times there's like a very slight edge in between where you drew and where the paint bucket fills. So again, you may have to double click, not double click, but click again on the lettuce to fill it in completely. Okay, so then our next layer. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to make a meat layer or veggie burger layer, whatever you prefer. I'm going to actually use this shape tool. So I'm going to go to the ellipse, which is just a rounded shape. And then I'm going to change the color to a brown color. Maybe a darker brown than the bun, and hit OK. And then now I'm going to come over here, and instead of, oh, you know what? Okay, so with the shape tool, I forgot about this. With Photopea, it's a little different. So with the shape tool, you're going to go up here and click the fill. So fill is what the shape is going to be filled with. And this is very similar to some of like the Google programs like Google Draw and stuff. So if you've used that, you may be familiar with this. But and then the stroke is actually what the outline is around it. So right now, this red X through the white square means there's no outline, which is what we want. And then the fill is not the color we want. So we want to come down here. Fill type means like if you want a solid color gradient or a texture or no fill. And then this is where you'd pick the color. So there's some like default colors up here, which we don't really want because none of them are burger colors. So you click this and it will bring up your color picker. And I already have that color in there, which is great. So hit OK. And then you're going to come over here and you're going to click and drag and just make it whatever size you want. You can make it kind of more oval, but if you kind of eyeball it and make it round, there you have like a perfectly, almost perfect round burger. And then you can go back to your move tool and you can kind of see, you can place it wherever you want. And you can see over here, it looks a little different of a layer because it's a shape layer. It's not a painted on or marked on layer. So keep that in mind. If you're creating shapes, it's slightly different. You can still do the same things you can with a shape layer as you can with a regular layer, but just so you know, it's recognizing it as a shape. So you can change the look of it a little differently. But we'll get into that later. Okay, so I wanted to show you that. The next thing I think I'm going to show you is, so we showed you paintbrush, paint bucket, shape tool. We can probably put one more shape on here if you want. We could put like a piece of cheese as a rectangle and make it maybe yellow. Oh, let's go up here to fill, just to remind ourselves. Make a yellow piece of cheese. Oh, it's on the shape layer. Okay, so that was great. So I made a mistake. So what I did, I forgot to make a new layer before I started making my cheese. So it's changing the color of the shape layer that I was already on. So if that happens to you, remember you can go either up here in the history and undo that, or you can go to edit, undo. If you click edit, undo, edit, and then click it again, it will redo what you just did. So you want to make sure, I don't know if you noticed that, but you want to make sure that you go to the history palette and just go back to where you want it to be. So remember, click the new layer, and then I'll go back to my cheese. I'm going to click the yellow that I want for my cheese. I'm just going to use this default yellow. There it goes. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here and draw a piece of cheese on my burger. Okay, so this is really important. So I want to show you, so this looks really boring and square, and I want to show you that what you can do with not a tool, but it's actually up here in the menu up here, and it's called Edit, Free Transform, or you can go to Transform Scale, but I like to just do Free Transform. It's just a little more free than the scale one. It's not as fixed. But here is where you can change the size of your shapes and you can rotate them. So I'm going to rotate mine a little bit. You can do other things like skew them and that kind of thing, but we can get into that later. But if you want to practice with the cheese. Okay, so that looks a little better. And then if you want to add anything else, I forgot to rename this layer. You can double click, rename it. You can add something else. Otherwise, I'm just going to add the top bun, and I'm going to use my shape tool instead of the paintbrush. And I am going to go up here. I'm going to click my fill, click that bun color, and I'm going to make another bun on the top. And then I'm going to take my move tool, because I covered everything up, and kind of move it over so I can see the burger. It kind of looks like it's 3D almost. It's getting there. It's getting there. So let's say top bun. Top bun. Okay, so that is a quick introduction to some of the tools in Photopea and in Photoshop because they have similar tools. And then also a quick introduction to layers, the history palette, so remember to use that, and then the edit transform. That is all I'm going to do for now, but if you'd like to follow along, I would just start this video over and go ahead and pause it in between each thing, and then you can hopefully figure out how to make a burger. The last thing that you're going to do is save your file. So if you're on a Chromebook, hopefully you'll be able to save this. I've heard there's problems before, but what you're going to do is you want to save the image with all your layers. So you go to save as PSD. That is just it's actually a Photoshop file, but that is actually a file that will save these layers. If you save it, if you go to export as a PNG or a JPG or any of these other ones, it's going to do something called flatten your image, which means if I open your image on my computer, I won't see your layers anymore. They'll all be merged or smushed together. So make sure that you are just saving it as a PSD. I'm going to save mine on my desktop. You probably can't see this. Hopefully, if you're on a Chromebook, you can access your Google Drive and save it there as a PSD. If you have trouble at all saving it, you can take a screenshot of it and show it to me. But other than that, just go ahead and save it as a PSD, and then you can upload it on Canvas to the link below, which is this assignment. This video you're watching is under an assignment, so if you click Submit Assignment, it will bring you down below where you can turn it in, and I can check it out. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you have any difficulties turning it in, again, that's no problem, but I am here for you. That's all.